You're listening to The Right Side of the Rivers, hosted by Todd McCollum and Russell Dreyer. This show tackles public issues from a Pittsburgh point of view, offering common sense conversations, right-of-center perspectives, and a focus on the people, policies, and principles shaping Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and Pennsylvania.
Hello again, everyone. My name's Todd McCollum, and welcome to our show that we call The Right Side of the Rivers. This is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee. Again, my name's Todd McCollum. I'm the chairman, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the best podcast that you haven't heard of yet. My name is Russell Dreyer. I'm the vice chairman for the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee, and it sure is a pleasure and an honor to be back here in the studio with our professional behind-the-scenes producers, Missy, and our great man over there. Thank you so much,
Mike,
for taking care of us. Todd, show number 2.
We've had a show already, and it's come with good reviews. We're looking forward to doing this for a long time. Like I said, it got positive reviews. A lot of surprised people. I don't know how they talk, but everybody seemed happy with the first show, and we're happy to be here and do it again. There is some things we need. Go ahead if you wanted to mention about that. Any comments that you received, any feedback that you got back?
No, we did. We received a lot of great comments. Being our first podcast a couple weeks ago, we had a lot of great commentary and feedback about the professionalism of the studio, about the way that the show is produced, and
Absolutely.
I think a lot of folks are expecting to hear a lot more from us.
And we're hoping to provide it for them. There are some things that we need to that we failed to mention the last time because we were talking about candidates. There are a couple statewide candidates. This year is a judicial cycle as well. So we wanted to mention our candidate for Superior Court, and that is Maria Batista. And you had the opportunity last week when I was on vacation to meet with her. She was in town, and we've met with her in the past. We know her we're very familiar with her. She's a star. But you talked to her last week.
Maria was in town last week. Like you said, Todd, we've known Maria for a couple years now. Great woman, easily the hardest working person in Pennsylvania. She's been to all 67 counties at least once. She's a fantastic person, and I know that she told her story last week about her decision to run, and I hadn't heard that story before. And basically, she was in the middle of about an 8-month job interview with the Department of Defense, and this opportunity came to her to run again. And you know what? It was a very hard decision. She was basically going to get this job. And she said, you know what? I want to make a real difference. I want to serve on the Superior Court, and I'm going to run. She actually had to make that decision. She ran against an incumbent. Or excuse me, she ran against an endorsed candidate.
Endorsed candidate, yes.
Excuse me, she ran against an endorsed candidate and won by tens of thousands of votes. So that speaks to how hard she's willing to work, that she believes in herself, and just her pedigree. She's just a fantastic woman. Now she lives in Clarion County, but she likes to tell everybody she's actually from Elk County. So she knows how you have to work hard when you're from rural places to get noticed and to build coalitions, because there's a lot more trees than people up in those places. So
deer don't vote up there.
No. But just a great opportunity to reconnect with Maria again. So happy that she's staying in the fight, and can't wait to work for her this election cycle.
It is safe to say that her car is not a leased vehicle, that she owns her car, because she just puts the mileage on and on and on, crisscrossing the state. For Commonwealth Court, that we didn't mention last week, is Matt Wolford. He is the endorsed candidate and won. We have not, I shouldn't say have not, we have met him. I've met him at the Dave McCormick event a couple weeks ago, talked to him, ended up talking to his wife a little bit more than him because we share the same home turf, shall we say. And we talked a lot about high school rivalries and stuff, and it was a nice talking to his wife. We look forward to working with Matt as well. Do want to mention that we had promised, well, a couple things we need to mention here. We had mentioned that Jake Dumont would be our guest this week, and there's a conflict that came up. He's not available, but we do have a great host, or a guest with us today. The other thing I wanted to mention, of course, we have our Ike the Elephant making his debut here on the right side of the rivers, and we're trying to have some fun with the middle space between Russell and I. And when it came up last time that we mentioned the man in the middle, I think we're going to make this the person in the middle. It may not be an actual person, but it will be somebody of note going on. And this podcast, we're making Selena Zito the person in the middle. And her book, Butler, currently ranks fourth on the New York Times bestsellers list. I've been through it on vacation last week. You're getting to it. You have met Selena, and she's awesome. And she's a local person to Western Pennsylvania, too, and we're very happy to have her.
Well, and we have
as a friend.
Absolutely. And, the one connection that we have to Selena is obviously our great friend Eileen Cunningham, who we're going to be bringing into the conversation.
Welcome, Eileen.
Hello.
The right side. You're on the right side of the rivers today. That's for sure.
Thank you for having me. This is very exciting for City of Pittsburgh.
So go ahead, tell us about yourself here. You're involved with the committee, and pick it up from there.
I'm city born and raised. Lived in two different Greenfield to Lincoln Place, and that was it. And wanted to get involved. Found you people. Did the committee, did committee work, tried to venture out, do different things, and started my one vote campaign, and got to meet a lot of great people along the way. And I think we're doing a lot of good, and we're making a big difference. So it's fun to be involved right now.
Tell everybody about your position with the committee.
Well, I am the District 5 chair, which encompasses Lincoln Place, Hazelwood, Squirrel Hill, and Greenfield, Swiss Elm Park a little bit. And then I'm the secretary for the board.
And RCAC, which is our mother organization, Republican Committee of Allegheny County, is tasked you to do some work as well, too.
Right. I am the District 11 coordinator for them, and just trying to take all the people that are in County District 11 and coordinate them, help them grow, help them learn to get their messages out.
So people that may not understand what's going on here, when we talk about council districts, we're talking about both the city council district being different from the county council district. And the chairman of RCAC, Ms. Jason Ritchie, is assigned somebody for each county council district, and you're one, I'm one, Russell's one, and that coordinates the committees involved in that council district and sort of keeps them all on the same page together.
Right. The city has such a big footprint, and then each district that is in the city has so many municipalities on the ends of it. So it's a way to bring all the municipalities in that strip of the city that connects those municipalities together for countywide things.
And you've mentioned your one vote organization. We're going to get back to that here in a little bit. But you've also have sold yourself short a little bit as well, as you were a candidate for county council the last local election.
2023.
Yeah, 2023 for council district, county council district 11. A lot of area and a lot to learn, and you really learn a lot about how things work, how to be around people, what people think, and that's probably the biggest benefit to being a candidate. You learn so much.
And Russell, you're a pretty good watcher of the map, and you know that Eileen, that seat had never been challenged before by a Republican, and she performed. She outperformed herself.
Eileen's vote.
Not that she's not a superstar, but
Eileen's vote totals in areas where we knew we were going to be strong looked like the fall foliage calendar. I mean, it just lit up, bright red and orange over in the areas where we knew we could do really well in Eileen's area. And Eileen's in a tough district, county council district, because that does incorporate the 14th ward,
the entire 14th ward in the city. And generally speaking, that's a stronghold for Democrat politics. That's generally whoever wins the 14th ward in city politics wins that election. And so Eileen was in a very tough district, but certainly in areas where we're strong, and she made other inroads out throughout her county council district. And again, that seat has never been contested before. So proud of your courage and the hard work, and meeting all kind of new people and telling them about who we are and what we're doing. What was nice about that particular race is that was the first time somebody had gone out for that purpose. And we met so many people that didn't realize that there is a Republican Party. And not only are we here, but we're working hard, we're making a difference. And people started to listen after that. So the next time we saw them, they were looking forward to it. And then the next time you saw them, it was, what could I do to help? How can I learn more? So just going out and meeting the voters, and the Pittsburgh Republican Committee, being vocal and being visible, did more for the city of Pittsburgh, just by running. And I think that's what's important, to get candidates and get them out there talking to the citizens.
And you won districts in West Homestead, right?
I run all of West Homestead. Well, 2 districts in West Homestead, and a couple in Carrick.
Right, and
did pretty well in a couple in Southside.
Mount Oliver, you were
I won one,
in something in Mount Oliver, I believe, too.
Yep, I did win one in Mount Oliver.
Excellent. So,
and came close in a lot. So
again, we're very happy. You introduced conservatism and the Republican Party to a lot of people, and with your hard work, and you were a write-in candidate as well too. So that's even equally impressive.
That was the harder part.
So we have some current events to get to, I believe, right?
Absolutely.
I think we some things that we wanted to talk about.
The city budget.
The city budget, the story of Rachel Heisler, but let's go easy for a while. Let's pick low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
Let's go with the status of the city vehicles and that report, and how the city is going to now track vehicles in the city and their usage, their mileage, and their cost effectiveness to keep running, and all those type of things. It would seem like it was something that should have already been done, but it hasn't. I know I'm a retired police officer. I came on in '97, and the status of the fleet has been talked about since I came on, and if not sooner. Eileen, you have people in your family who work for the city, drive city vehicles, or had driven city vehicles at the time. But the condition of the vehicles are, and I still have people in my family who drive city vehicles as well. It's a sad state of affairs, and the legacy of this city council is going to be remembered badly.
No,
you might have some thoughts on that.
Well, I tell you, what we need? We need another study. Let's do another study on why the vehicles are in such bad shape. Of course, I'm kidding, but that's exactly what.
Meetings to have meetings, right?
They want to have meetings to have meetings. I have an idea. Get in your car, drive down to the 31st Street Depot, get out, walk around, talk to some people, see for yourself the state of our vehicles. Okay?
Right.
Talk to people in public works down there. Put some eyeballs on it. We don't need more studies that are going to waste $1 million here and $1 million there. You know, and this all ties back to our city budget woes. Rachel Heisler, I believe, has warned us at least 3 different times about our expenditures exceeding our revenues. So I guess if we're exceeding our expenditures, but our vehicles are in such a disarray, I guess the next logical question is, where's all that money going? It's obviously not going to the vehicles.
No. And, you know, the COVID money that we got from the federal government, a lot of that could have been capital investments that would have bought vehicles. You know, we wouldn't have to be worrying about a 2-year lag in some of our major vehicles being in the shape that they're in. They would already be on order. They'd be working their way in. Another thing about the fleet, and Eileen, I'm going to bring you in here in a second. You know, we always talk about when they always pat themselves on the back when they make a large order of vehicles, and they say, "Oh, we've refreshed 1/3 of the fleet." Well, here's what I know: when you buy, let's just say 50 vehicles, and you buy them all at the same time, do you know what happens?
They all break at the same
50
time.
vehicles break down at the same time if they're not replenished appropriately.
Well,
Eileen, I'm sure you have thoughts on this too.
Well, like you said, I know, you know, my family and everybody we know, we were associated with the fire department, and there were always trucks that went down. And being that the fire trucks probably are one of the most important public safety vehicles, they had to be addressed first and quickly. But the expense and the time it took to do it was far beyond what people could even imagine. And trucks were out of service constantly and for long periods of time. But they were at least being addressed. But being addressed, it still took a lot of time and a lot of money. So after that, then what's left? And you can tell by the salt trucks, the public safety trucks, the ambulances, you know, they all came in kind of secondary. And when you know people who have to drive them, it's like, you know, we didn't have a vehicle today. And they have to rent vehicles, and they have to subcontract vehicles out. And people don't know because they won't tell you that. But there are so many different ways to get around not having a fleet that they're hiding because they don't have a fleet.
And we've been fortunate that we've had fairly warm winters the past couple of years. And I live on the north side, and I've seen it personally where the rented vehicles are all down at the division down in Riverview Park. So I've seen that firsthand of how the vehicles are rented. And Rick Earl always does. Thank you, Rick. We say thank you, Rick. Rick Earl always does a fine job of keeping that on the front burner.
It's never really addressed. You know, it's the same story. They're rented, and how come? And it's always an anomaly. It's because this was so bad this time, or, you know, and it's never the truth. So what is it? It would be nice to have that study, Russell, and get the truth.
Transparency, right?
Yep.
That's, I think, from the right side of the river's point of view. You know, we're talking about fiscal responsibility, transparency, and oversight, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, there's sort of a bigger picture here. I mean, Pittsburgh is trying to rebrand itself as this tech city, okay, on the one hand. I mean, every article that you read about Pittsburgh, especially lately, is, you know, we're driving this AI revolution. Of course, we have our long history with tech, eds, and meds. And then it's like all of a sudden, when it actually comes to the city itself, City Hall, and the way things run in the city, it's like we're 1985.
Backwards.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and they're filming Flashdance down in Hazelwood or something. I mean, it really is. There's a huge disconnect between who we say we are and what we actually do. I mean, we need to embrace our tech innovators in this city, use them as part of a way to collaborate, to just upgrade the way that we do things in the city. In other words, bring City Hall into the digital age, I would say, because there's obviously no transparency in the way we're doing things right now. And when you open things up to the digital world and modernize, then transparency is part and parcel to modernization. So I think that truly speaking, there needs to be a major overhaul done to the way the city runs itself with respect to how we're trying to rebrand ourselves in terms of a modern city that's focused on AI and robotics, et cetera. So there's certainly there's a huge disconnect, and we need to bring some of that innovation, a lot of that innovation, back to city government itself.
You said a word there a couple times, transparency, and it just hits me while we're sitting here talking about it. And it's been mentioned in a lot of campaigns, a lot of Republican campaigns about that. Do you concern yourself that it might become a buzzword for the Democrats at this point? Oh, here's our transparency, and it's just more baloney after baloney.
Well, I think
there's no meat on the bone there.
You know what they say: you're only as good as your last fight, and certainly their track record on transparency has been terrible. So I can't imagine that they would take that transparency mantle up. Hey, if it lifts all boats in the city, then absolutely, please do it. I mean, because this is really what we want. We want a city that's for everybody, not just red or blue individuals. But certainly, there's been no transparency. There's been really no modernization, and this is taxpayer money that we're talking about here. Right. Hard-working people in the city of Pittsburgh, maybe working 2 jobs, and they can't get their streets plowed because the vehicles broke down, or God forbid that a fire truck can't get out to them and get them when they need it most, because people aren't really doing their jobs.
I'll ask you the same question, Ellen. You think transparency will become a buzzword on their behalf?
They can make it mean whatever they want because they've been in charge for 100 years. So transparency to them is whatever they want it to be. And it's not until some Republicans can get in or somehow be a part of the conversation, or the media, or whether you're just the town crier, to counter what they're trying to say and pass off as transparency.
Excellent point. Again, I will go back to what I said earlier, that I think the legacy of this city council is going to be bad because it's gone back on. And there are okay people on city council that may agree with us more often than not, and we believe that. But sometimes you wonder where their heads are in all this stuff. So I don't know if we need to keep that going, or.
Well, I think that I would like to just get back to the budget, the overall budget.
Oh, I apologize. You were on that.
The overall budget concerns. So I looked this up before the show. Rachel Heisler has made 3 warnings to the public on the state of the city's budget. One time was in March of 2024. The second time was in May of 2024, and then just recently, just last week, she called the situation in the city precarious. She's reported that $24 million more has been spent in the first 6 months of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024, with overtime spending far exceeding budgeted limits. And she emphasized a need for a plan for cost containment and revenue growth. So that's 3 times in the past 2 years that the city controller has said, look, this path that we're on for the city is not sustainable. And you know where that, at least in terms of what I'm thinking, you know where we're heading.
I would venture guess on tax increases would be my guess.
Well, that we do they're going to say, well, we need to increase taxes because we need to boost our revenues. But I'm more concerned that we may end up in not near term, but certainly in a year or two, we could be looking at Act 47 again.
Sure, that's been warned against as well. That's the last thing we want is state oversight. We should be able to handle our own affairs, and it should speak to the situation that Eileen, that you've mentioned. 100 years of this going on of one party rule. That should speak to that, and why others aren't understanding that a little bit of balance to government, even just a little bit of balance to party government, would be great.
In the Post-Gazette, speaking to what you were speaking about, I think it was Sunday's paper, they wrote about that same thing, and COVID money is running out. So even though it looks like it's almost balanced now and there's a tiny surplus, if you take away the COVID money, which I believe runs out at the end of the year, whoever comes in next has a hard job because that's not part of the budget anymore. That was just free money in the budget.
Yeah,
the next administration will certainly be facing a lot of economic headwinds, and my fear is really that the logical thing is they're going to try to find another tax to put on us. Okay, we've already seen our parking tax, our residential parking permits have doubled. Okay. So I'm just a little bit, I'm very concerned. She's had 3 reports out now. So I'm very concerned that Act 47 is looming large in the next 24 months or so for us.
Well, I think we've hashed that out pretty well. Go back to the person in the middle here,
Okay.
Selena Zito, and her book. Again, based on my check today, was number 4 on New York Times bestseller list. Our special guest, Eileen Cunningham, you had the pleasure of being interviewed personally by a number 1 bestseller list,
Right.
Selena. And you talked to Selena, and she wrote a fabulous article about you. And 5-star producer Missy's going to link that in the comments below, and you'll be able to read that if you missed that. But tell us about your interaction with Selena.
Well, I met her at the AI Summit. We had met her once before, so she did remember me from the Lincoln dinner, but I had the chance to sit and talk to her for a while through Mayor Longo. He introduced us again and got to talk to her for a while, and he was the one that told her all the things that I do. So after that day, she called me, and it was a very unexpected surprise and quite an honor, to be honest. And we met, and she did her interview, and I was expecting it to be like factual, and I do this, and I did this, and this is how come I register voters. And when I got the article, she sent it to me, and then she waited, about an hour, and she texted me, and I just said, I'm overwhelmed. And so she called, and she said, is that good or bad? And I said, it's good. I said, I didn't expect the way the article went. It wasn't factual about work. It, was kind of about me and what drives me. And it's kind of surreal to read about yourself in a way that you don't perceive yourself. And, you learn about yourself. And she said, well, what were you expecting? And I told her something dry and factual, and she was like, no. She said, you had so much to offer. So it was quite exciting. It was very humbling. It was such an honor. And she is such a great person, and she is such a Yinzer. She's from the north side, went to Perry High School, and just loves Pittsburgh, loves everything about it. And that's where she gets a lot about the things in her book and the things that she writes all over, like why she wrote about me, the people in where they are and what drives them, their environment, and how they got to where they were. It was exciting.
Can you walk us through your journey a little bit with One Vote? What inspired you to get started? Like how long ago that was, and sort of fast forward to where we are today.
Well, when I met you guys in 2020, right after that, I started to look for places to get involved. It was like 2020 was a wake-up call for a lot of people that we need to get involved, we need to do something. And thinking that I'm pretty political and I listen and I pay attention and you need more workers, you need people to help. And I found you guys, and we started doing the Pittsburgh Republicans. But you still I was looking for what could I do myself? What could I do every day that was going to make a difference? And I thought, well, the biggest thing to do would be to register voters to get more people in the pot. And as I started to do that, I found out it wasn't about registering voters. It was really about voter outreach and going to people who were either disenfranchised or disillusioned, who don't think that anything matters. In Pittsburgh, that's a big problem for Republicans because we're so outnumbered. So all the outreach that we do to people, like I said, whenever we first started talking, it goes a long way and it means something to people. But I focused a lot on rural areas last year because that's where the most people were. I could spend forever in Allegheny County, but when you go to Fayette and in Washington and Westmoreland, they came out of the woodworks to register and to learn and to know. So Southwest Pennsylvania was a great place to register and to teach people. So it was really about voter outreach, getting them interested, getting them to know that their one vote mattered.
Well, Eileen, since you've started on this adventure of working hard and trying to reach voters and register voters or just get some information out to voters, the Republican to Democrat deficit in 2020 was 2 million votes. Today, that number is under 60,000 votes.
Right. Well, that's active, right?
Correct.
It's like 174 total, and it's, I think, like 58 active voters. So
it's
come
working.
a long way. And two things have happened because Pennsylvania is such a focal point.
Correct.
That we've actually got a lot of, like, I know Tom Fitton with, I forget the name of his little group, but Judicial Watch or something.
I believe that's it, yeah.
He had lawsuits in Pennsylvania for voter rolls and cleaning them and purging them and what the laws were. And he educated a lot of people about what the laws were for how the voting rolls were supposed to be. So just bringing attention to it helps. And then, it was a boom. People started paying attention, and the more you outreach, the more people participate, and that's what happened.
So what do you, so obviously there's a trend here. There's a direction that the party is moving in Pennsylvania. Now, would you say that that voters are trending to Trump, or that folks are trending away from the Democrat Party, or some convergence of both?
I think the convergence of both is the same thing. They're trying to get back to traditional America. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I believe that the progressive movement is pushing the Democrats instead of left to the center, where that's a place we can talk to them. And we know, being inside the city, that if you want to run for anything, you have to get Democrats to vote for you. And when you talk to them, the majority of the people that we talk to think like us. They just don't vote like us because they see the same thing in a different color. And, but now the progressive movement, I believe, is so prominent and so in your face. It's not hiding. It's not secondary. They're not afraid to post what they want. The people don't want that. They want to stay right in the middle, and that's where the difference is. So we have people voting for Republicans, switching to Republicans because of the current state of the Democrats and where America is. And they see Trump stuff now kind of, he had a 3% GDP growth this month. So they see good things happening again. They can buy stuff. They're hopeful they're going to buy a car, buy a house. So it's a big combination of both with the same thing. Right is right and good is good.
And that economic data, I believe it was I believe it was 3% GDP, but also cooling of inflation of around 2%.
Something.
So that's a winning recipe.
Yeah, consumer index is up, and people feel it. They see it and they feel it, and they're happy. And everybody who's in the middle, who's for right is right and good is good, that they'll keep going with that.
I wanted to bring up that, and again, referring back to the book where she speaks of, Selena speaks of the placed and the placeless. And I think that's what you're talking about. It had mentioned that people have an attachment to their community. Again, all politics are local or comes back to the local level. And Selena, the book explains that in great detail, and it's something you may not think about until you read it and you're like, and it hits you. But somehow, in your rather conservative city council district, you have probably the most liberal or progressive councilwoman out of the 9.
We do.
And the California native. How did that happen? How can we overcome that?
How it happened is very stealth. And you come in, and she moved into a community called Greenfield, which had its own identity, the same way Hazelwood does, the same way Lincoln Place does, the same way Squirrel Hill does. And she adapted to every community. Talks differently in Lincoln Place than she does in Hazelwood, but it's all for the betterment of the community. Everything is the betterment of the community, which is what people want to hear. And she attests to the fact that all her communities are different and they need different things, but she believes in all the same thing. So, speed bumps are good for everybody. Community groups should be focused on the things that she wants to focus on. So after she got in, by being pleasant and being around a lot, she comes to a lot of events, and then people see what happens in their community. They don't know how that. They said, well, why does she do that? Because she didn't say that. And that's not what we voted for. And she wasn't listening to us. And so it's 4 years later, and everybody's starting to second guess, and well, where did she come from? And now everybody asks the question. They just voted for the next person on the list, but now they want to know more about where did she come from? She came from California. Oh, no wonder.
And she was one of Mayor Ed Gainey's biggest
supporters,
surrogates in his primary.
Yes, she went and door knocked for him. We just happened to be sitting on the porch and surprised to see us, and she said, he's the best mayor. And I said, I don't get it. I don't see what he's done. And she said, look at all your beautiful parks. I said, well, how much money in park tax was collected? And she said, well, I'm not sure. I said, I think it was over $10 million. I said, do you know how much of the park tax was spent on parks? And she said, well, I'll even beat you to it. It was $3 million. I said, but as we talked about transparency, I said, where did all the other $7 million for the parks go to? And she wouldn't answer it. I says, I think you took it out and used it for something else. And she says, I don't think so. She goes, our parks are beautiful. And I said, yeah, but you took the money for it and you put it somewhere else. So,
do you think because she was such a strong surrogate and supporter of the current mayor at Gainey, and now he was defeated, do you think that she's vulnerable now?
She's vulnerable, and she's vulnerable to a Democrat. I think people would vote for any other Democrat, and then for the Republican side, you'd have to tangle with somebody all new. Being that Squirrel Hill is involved, Squirrel Hill is the largest voting block, I think, in all of Allegheny County as a single ward and precinct-wise. My half of it, I have southern Squirrel Hill, which is Murray Avenue down. And with the number of high-rises, the number of apartments, the density of the buildings, there's twice as many people per voting precinct in Squirrel Hill than there is in Lincoln Place. So it's a lot of people, and that's a lot of people you have to convince to vote for the other team. But she has a a chink in the armor.
Certainly, certainly. Well, one fun fact that I found, talking about how we're trending more red in Pennsylvania. Would you believe that voter registration in Pennsylvania is that the city of Philadelphia has moved the furthest right of all counties?
Yeah, that's
R
believable.
3.3 since November 24. This is an ongoing trend that, if it continues, will fundamentally change PA politics. So for the right side of the rivers, folks, that's, in other words, if we continue to do our job,
Right.
continue to get the message out there, build a common sense coalition, and we can move these statewide races in the city of Pittsburgh 3 or 4%.
Russell, that's what's so important, that if we were just dormant in the city of Pittsburgh, and under you, Todd, and Russell's great leadership, if we weren't out there with candidates, we have a full slate of candidates this year, people to vote for, and we're out there and we're door knocking. If we didn't do any of that, our people wouldn't come out to vote. They just stay home. And by engaging with them and energizing them and encouraging them, we might not make a difference in the mayoral race this cycle, but we have the ability to change so many different things. And I remember in 2024, we just needed 20% in Philadelphia and 40% in Allegheny County, and we knew we could win the state. And I was watching Charlie Kirk and his crew on election night, and I just kept LA Times site with the numbers and refreshing, and Philly stayed above 20. They were at like 21, 22 the whole night. And, Allegheny County switched between 39 and 40. And I said, we've got this. And that's the difference that we're making. By fighting in the blue areas is how you win the statewide.
Eileen, as a call to action for people to get involved with you with one vote, how can they how can they get involved in your efforts with one vote?
Well, just volunteering, and if you need training of how to do voter outreach, I call it voter outreach now instead of just registrations. You can get a hold of me through the city of Pittsburgh, Republican Committee. I'm on X, One Vote PA. You can get a hold of me there. So I'm easy to find.
I did want to slide in one question here. You talk about registered voters. What kind of success are you finding with flipping parties?
Flipping to me is more fun and a little bit easier than getting new registrations in Allegheny County. And most people in the city of Pittsburgh who are true Republicans are Democrats because they want to vote in the primary for the mayor to get the better candidate. And those people are actually easier to flip because the state of things, you don't have to be embarrassed to be a Republican. There's a Republican committee now. There's candidates. So there's a legitimacy to what we're doing, and that makes people more eager to be a part of it. And said, well, they're doing good things. I can try them for a while. So, it's a little bit easier to flip, and it's fun because it takes one away. So I like the -1 +1.
I do want to mention one thing,
Sure.
and you can tap in on this because we would be remiss. And I'm going to say something that may surprise people because I'm going to bring it up. We recognize that there is a group of people in Allegheny County who are working on cleaning up the voter rolls. And we take nothing away from that. And it's important. I don't think it's a core committee person job, but as a pet project or side project, it absolutely is a significant thing to do as far as efficiency to the candidates and the getting the information out and saving money. And I did want to, even though if you know, there have been conflicts in the past, but I do want to recognize that that group is out there. They're working hard.
And I would just suggest that this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. Clean up the voter rolls. This is an issue that everybody can get behind and should get behind. So, hat tip to those folks out there that are working to make sure that our voter rolls are being cleaned up. Again, this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a bipartisan issue, and we're glad that so many people are getting involved.
That's the thing. There are many ways to be involved, and doing committee work is about the city candidates. Getting our word out, getting our candidates elected. So we have a city government with our representation, and that's kind of the mission of the city committee. But there's so many people on the city committee that are passionate and do more. Like I said, I just wanted to do something that I could do every day that makes a difference. And those folks on election integrity, they have the patience to fight those battles, and God bless them, because that's a hard job. And there's just a lot of, we have people working with coordination with the state, people working with grassroots efforts to do different policy changes. That's a big one, the people who work on policy changes. So there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work.
And I know as the chairman, when Chairman Rothman of the state GOP was elected in, we sent him a letter on behalf of the city committee. And, that was one of the things that we would ask him to target, particularly the GOP data center, and trying to keep that up to speed so that the candidates and the committees could work hard and be efficient in that. And we asked Chairman Rothman to have that more efficient for us, and we continue to ask for that. And he's still getting his feet wet as the chairman, and but that is one thing that we hope is a long-range project that happens as GOP data center gets cleaned up rather quickly. You have any other questions for Eileen?
No, I just want to thank Eileen personally for being such a great friend, and easily one of the hardest working committee members that we have, not to mention everything she's doing.
We make a great team.
With one vote. So
I would have to echo that as well. You've been a great friend since this journey took off, and I appreciate your efforts for everything.
Thank you. It's great to be here and part of a good group.
We're glad that you took the audible here and sat in. We look forward to 2 weeks coming back on again, and we will be putting this up on Facebook and YouTube. You can download that at your favorite podcast. Listen in, and go ahead.
Before we sign off,
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe circle back to the book.
Sure.
And the whole reason we have this book, and I know you two. We're both in Butler on that day when things when Trump went in the Matrix there and dodged that. Literally,
we were having such a great conversation that kind of got past the notes here. But Eileen, you were front row. I mean,
front row, the very first row, the very first seat. He was as close as I am to you now, except he was just a little higher up, which was good for me.
Wow. It is. I was in an official capacity for the party. I was part of the motorcade, and I wasn't quite sure what was happening because outside the stadium it was a little bit the sound of what things sounded like was a little bit different. And I remember hearing this, and I was near that bank of speakers that was the hydraulic line was hit and spraying hydraulic oil everywhere, and we first thought the hydraulic line had just blown, and that the compressor was what was making that noise, and and the next thing everybody's screaming, and then it gets quiet, and I'm like, that what I'm hearing now after a few seconds wasn't consistent with a compressor going off, and that's weird. And everybody's running, it gets quiet and for a few seconds, and then everybody starts screaming USA, USA, and cops are running everywhere. And I said to the other drivers, I said, we might want to get our cars running here, and in case the Secret Service wants to evacuate this, because we didn't know what was going on. We had just got our cars parked and had a chance to take a quick bathroom break, and we got back, and all this is happening. And so we all started our cars, and then people were running at us from the advisors and such, and I said, come on, let's go, jump in the car, and jumped in the car. And my career instincts kicked in, and everybody okay? Is everybody having a medical condition or anything like that? And I jumped in behind the state police tactical team. I was the first car out of there that wasn't escorted, and I had no idea what had actually happened. I just knew that we were leaving. I did see somebody that was clearly bleeding that was drugged past us by state police and I believe city police. And again, hats off to the city motorcycle unit, who never got the credit that they deserved for that event. And working in a strange environment at high speeds, and I know they're trained for all that stuff, but as someone who had never seen it in action, like an emergency evacuation type of thing, and what they did, they were absolutely crapped on. I just wanted to get that out there too. But we evacuated the president and the advisors to Butler Memorial Hospital, which then became a fortress, and that's what it is. I know you were still there, right, for a while, and other committee members were there. Everybody came out safely on our part.
That's what was so neat, finding you a week or so later, because I was on the front from the time it started till the time Trump left. And then everything from there we didn't know about, where did he go? Like, how was he? How was he getting out? So, it was kind of funny. It was like the same story in two parts. I was chapter 1 and you were chapter 2.
Yeah.
It was fun to meet up after that and hear each other's stories.
And I had people in my car that I don't know how they weren't in the president's car himself, because when you see scans of sometimes where the president's doing a thing and an event, and they scan and see people, I'm like, that person was in my car on July 13th, and they're still very much involved with the presidency. It was great. Yeah, and Selena did a great book. It is not all about July 13th.
Right.
It is not about that. It is about how July 13th turned the corner for the president to eventually win again. And our hats go off to Selena for her success being a local person, her success, and boy, she calls balls and strikes. She really does. She does really call balls and strikes.
She's good at calling them too.
Yeah, and we're very proud that she's a friend of many people on the committee, and we've met her many times. Eileen, something's coming up here that people, you mentioned
right. We are
getting involved.
We one of the things that a bunch of us always talk about. I know, Russell, you talk a lot about it, and Barbie talks a lot about it. Is we go to meetings and we do work, but we want to have fun, and we want the people around us to have fun. So we are doing a tailgate at the Jason Aldean concert at the Star Lake Amphitheater. I think it's Coca-Cola now. I'm not real sure.
It will always be Star Lake Amphitheater.
Everybody knows that's it. So we're going to have a tailgate out there, probably starting around 4:30. We'll do voter outreach, but we're just going to have fun and meet people and hear from people. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be great. There will be people from all over Southwest Pennsylvania and the extending arms of it. So it's a good time to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, it can't be all business. You got to have fun
You
while we're
have to
doing
have
it
fun.
too.
Well, you know what? That's how you do outreach. That's how you introduce yourself to people, and instead of it always being business. You know, when I knock on my neighbor's door, they said Eileen's here, but if I can invite them to something fun, it's a lot better.
And we'll make sure that we put all those details about the Jason Aldean tailgate on our social media.
It's Saturday night. Is it the concert Saturday night?
The 9th, I believe,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
August 9th. Look for the voter registration tailgate out there. If you're Republican, it will be friendly territory for you, and even if you're a Democrat, you know it'll still be friendly territory for you. No, we're proud of the work you do.
Thank you.
And it's great. I think 5-star producer Missy probably wants us to
Do an outro.
Wrap it up. But
Do an outro, as they say in the biz.
Eileen, thanks again for your.
This was great. This was a lot of fun. It's
your initial. I'm sure we'll have you on many times here again too, because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a while, and it all. We want you to view in, and we'll be happy to entertain you here again. Ike the Elephant, Selena Zito, the person in the middle. We're going to have good fun with that. This space right here may be friend, it may be foe some days. Once again, you can find us on all social media outlets, Pittsburgh GOP Committee, Facebook and X and Instagram. PittsburghRepublicans.com is the website, which you can happily donate to keep this going. Russell, episode 2 is going to be in the books here. Woo-hoo. And it was fun to have you and Eileen.
Eileen.
We will have a special guest next week, or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks when we record again. Maybe it'll be live, maybe it won't. We'll see. We'll see how this went. But again, this is the official podcast of the City of Pittsburgh Republican Committee, and we call it The Right Side of the Rivers. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Be good.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Side of the Rivers. We appreciate you spending your time with us as we talk about the issues that matter to Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and beyond. Be sure to visit us online at PittsburghRepublicans.com for more updates, events, and ways to get involved. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on X, Facebook, and Instagram at PGHGOP Committee. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay on the right side of the rivers.